How do you document events that have already happened? Events that have not only already happened, but built around fluid identities with very little evidence left behind.
We have very few records, public records. We have a few of people who were what we would call today out, but most people lived in the shadows. And so we don't have, sadly, a lot of those histories.
Documenting sexual and gender nonconformity has traditionally had a controversial reputation. But local historian Stephen Lewis Brawley has committed a lot of his time to tracking down artifacts, photos, stories, all to preserve and promote the history of St. Louis's LGBTQ+ community.
We have some amazing images that we have come across. Some of these are in my book. This one's pretty cool. It's a lesbian wedding from the 70s. You can kind of see the outfits. But again, just friends. I'd had some elder friends pass away, and over the years, they had told me these amazing stories, and I just regretted not capturing those. So I started this little blog about local LGBTQIA history, and it just became this forum for people to share stories and their memories, and to start, I have some things, what do we do with them? And from that, the project just became this great community effort to preserve and promote our local history.
Is St. Louis significant when you look at our country's LGBTQ+ history? Does St. Louis stand out?
St. Louis has an amazing LGBTQI history that, like a lot of history, you have that sort of flyover state mentality of, gay history is, oh, that's San Francisco and that's New York, it's those big cities. St. Louis was this mecca of people coming from rural areas to the urban area. You can't use a modern prism in using the LGBTQIA alphabet to go back and say, in 1840, this person would identify as trans, or this person would be bisexual, because those terminologies, those concepts weren't there.
In his book, Images of America, Gay and Lesbian St. Louis, Steve highlights the people, places, events, and groups that we do have proof of for their significance in LGBTQ+ history. Some might not have been recognized or celebrated at the time, either because of controversy for keeping documentation or simply because those involved thought what they were doing wasn't anything significant. And while the book covers a lot of ground, the LGBT Mapping Project covers even more.
St. Louis is rich with an inventory of LGBTQIA historic spaces, and it could be faith-based, it could be a business, it could have been a bar. The mapping project that is being led by Washington University, at last count, there were pushing toward 900 locations on this map that you can go on the web and find a spot and click on it and learn more about it.
One site in particular that's featured on the map recently put St. Louis on the map. Trinity Episcopal Church in the Central West End was listed on the National Register of Historic Places, making it the first site in Missouri to be recognized for their historic support in the LGBTQ+ community. In the late 1960s and early 70s, Trinity hosted monthly meetings for St. Louis's first gay rights group, the Mandrake Society. The Mandrake Society provided general support for the gay community, in addition to legal aid, such as raising bail money for exact instances that Greg Smith found himself in one Halloween night in 1969.
So, Halloween 1969, a whole bunch of my friends and I were getting dressed up to go out for Halloween as women. So, we got all dressed up, we went down to a bar on Olive called the Onyx Room. And at 1 minute after midnight, I was walking out, the police came and grabbed me and I think 8 other people, threw us in the back of a paddy wagon. And I had no idea of why we were getting in this paddy wagon until we got downtown, and then they said that they were charging us with masquerading. So remember, it was 1 minute after midnight on Halloween. So I'm getting ready to leave, and the policeman says, "I take that wig off of you. Take that wig off and walk out of here like a man." I said, "In a purple dress and gold pumps?" "I don't think so." Got out my compact, pieced up my wig and I'll walk out the way I came in.
It's stories like Griggs that Steve has found to be the best way to preserve our local LGBTQ+ history. Many times he's encountered an instance where a disapproving family member would discard letters or photos, leaving only memories to rely on.
When you get into oral histories, that's when the stories come out. So a lot of folks will kind of think through, well, you know, again, I was just living my life. I didn't think it was a big deal. And then sometimes you'll see they start to talk about something and they kind of hit a wall. And you can tell they're upset or it's triggering a memory because they've now thought about something they hadn't maybe thought about, maybe being discriminated against or being arrested or, you know, being bullied or harassed or, you know, losing a partner without any support. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
A more recent approach that Steve and the LGBT History Project is using to collect these oral histories is through a video series called In Our Voices. By gathering people associated with a particular group or place and just letting the cameras roll, the energy from this type of reunion gives a good sense of what it was like to be there in that time in history.
The Zebra Lounge reunion, which was a bar right down from College Church on Olive, and they had a couple of reunions. And I went to them and go, God, we should be really filming this. This is kind of cool. And it was just an amazing experience. So it's like, well, we're onto something. So now we are, that's a thing now. So we're going to be continuing the series as long as we can keep up with the stories, and they just keep coming to us, you know, all the time.
The stories, the clothes, the photos, the posters. Steve says anything and everything is important to collect to shed light on those hidden histories. Those histories that have an entire month devoted to spreading more awareness. And in fact, we can thank fellow St. Louisan Rodney Wilson for creating LGBT History Month. That's another story for another time. But Steve's hope is that one day, these stories will become just a regular part of our history. For Living St. Louis, I'm Brooke Butler.